former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, #1 best-selling author, but he has his new book out, a novel called Collusion, ripped from today's headlines, if you don't mind me stealing a cliche. It really is. Could you ever think we'd go through this for 2.5 years?
No, but particularly, I keep asking the question, when did Mueller know that it wasn't true? And why did he sit on it? I mean, here he's letting the President of the United States, weakening the whole country by allowing the whole world to believe there's something there. And my guess is he may have known a year ago that there was nothing there. And it's really a disservice.
Then why did he do it? So we can get people on taxi medallions. Look, everyone should pay their taxes. You can't lie on loan applications. That was pretty much Manafort and Cohn.
But I think what happened was they brought in all of these very expensive, hardline Democrats, and they just couldn't let it go. I mean, they kept thinking, surely we'll find something. And they didn't. And I think, I try to remind people when you go back to the Clinton period that Ken Starr's report said Clinton was guilty on 11 counts. Now, can you imagine where we'd be right now if Mueller had come in and said Trump was guilty on 11 counts? Instead, he comes in and says there's nothing there. And even when there's nothing there, the Democrats can't let it up, which is why you have this absurdity today with Nadler saying, I don't just want to have the Attorney General come up here. I want to have our lawyers ask him questions. Now, there's no constitutional right for lawyers to get involved.
That's not congressional oversight. That's congressional lawyers' oversight.
That's right. Well, and it's also clearly just pure partisan attacks.
Well, the White House has said, the president reiterated again in an interview that I had with him on Thursday night, no, we've cooperated. This president never once invoked executive privilege. He even allowed the White House counsel 30 hours before Robert Mueller's special counsel. Not one. 1.5 million documents. Told everybody in the White House, go talk to Mueller for as long as he needs you. And then they say clearly no collusion with Russia whatsoever. And then Mueller writes this cute little 200-page political document. Well, we didn't want to make a decision on it, but there was no underlying crime, and the president was pretty vocal about wanting to fire, maybe I should fire Mueller or Rod Rosenstein, but he didn't do it, did he?
Right.
Just because he thought about it.
Well, and that's why I think that what you have, I mean, when I look in the eyes of some of my liberal friends, they hate Trump so deeply, they can't let it up.
They hate you and me so deeply because we like him.
But not as much as they hate Trump.
No, it doesn't rise to that level.
No.
So what happens with, now we'll get Congress. It seems like they're hell-bent, although there is a side of them that is amazingly torn. I was watching Adam the Cowardly Shift Lion on TV this weekend, and he's worried. He's like, well, I don't know if we should impeach him. The public approval rating for impeachment is lower than it's ever been right now. Because everyone accepts the Mueller report as the definitive statement on this. So they're not sure what they should do. But I think the hardcore of that party is going to win out because that.
Well, but they got to look. They have a huge problem. First of all, I don't think they could pass impeachment in the House because there are enough Democrats from Trump districts that are going to go, wait a second, you want me to commit suicide? I mean, this is the kind of issue where it's bye-bye. Second, there's zero possibility in the Senate that they would convict. Zero.
How does this play out politically for them? Because Nadler, Schiff, Maxine Waters are all saying, okay, you're saying you're not going to come. We're going to hold you in contempt of Congress. Then it'll be fought in the courts. Obviously, that's people within the White House. What about all these people that already spent a fortune on lawyers that testified already? You're going to drag them back to congressional committees?
That's what I think should be one of the real scandals of this thing. I mean, Mueller interviewed, I think, 500 people. Every one of them had to go out and get, a lawyer.
I'll give you the numbers. 674 days, $25+ million, 40 FBI agents, intelligence analysts, forensic accountants, and other professional staff, 19 attorneys, 2,800 subpoenas, 500 search warrants, 230 orders for communication records, 500 witnesses, and 13 requests to foreign governments for evidence.
So people ought to actually look at the total cost of the Mueller investigation. the innocent person out there who had to take time, who had to hire a lawyer. I have a friend who spent $1,200,000 who wasn't even engaged. I mean, he had nothing to do with it, and it was at $1.2 million. So you can't imagine times 500 witnesses. There may have been $500 million or more spent just on the lawyer side.
The thing that I think that's hard for people to understand is that, and this is, I have a hard time understanding such a transparent double standard. Hillary Clinton did have a private email server. She did send out a letter to all State Department employees saying you're not allowed to put work material on any of your private devices. She had a private server in a mom-and-pop shop bathroom closet. We're pretty sure about 6 at least foreign intel agencies hacked into it. They probably have the 33,000 emails. And then when the issue came up, they acid washed the hard drive. They deleted 33,000 subpoenaed emails. We never heard of BleachBit before this. Now everybody knows. They busted up the devices, and they removed the SIM cards. So here's the point. An underlying crime, the Espionage Act, and a real intent by destroying the evidence with all of those steps that they made to get rid of them all.
Well, look, I think you have to start with the idea you have two competing universes here. This is why this is so difficult and so bitter. In the Democratic Party's universe, Hillary was totally innocent and Donald Trump is guilty. In our universe, the overwhelming weight of evidence is that Hillary actually was guilty and that we now have Mueller who has said that Trump was innocent. And I think if you thought of it as a fight between two universes, you'll understand better how deep the divide is and why the other side keeps inventing things.
Well, I mean, does it play out in 2020?
Absolutely. Look,
do you think it's going to be huge?
I watched Joe Biden on The View Friday, and it was fascinating. The left has to create a series of lies in order to survive. So that's why for a while they were so excited by Mueller, because he was going to prove their lie was true. Now he has proven their lie wasn't true, and they're really befuddled about what to do next. Now, I'll give you an example, because this really hit me doing some research Friday afternoon.
All right, hold that thought.
Are you sorry for what you did? Are you prepared to apologize to those women?
Look, here's the deal. I have to be, and everybody has to be, much more aware of the private space of men and women. It's not just women, but primarily women. And I am much more cognizant of that. But I am so, like, for example, I actually thought in my head when I walked out here, I mean, do I know. We're friends.
It's tricky.
No, but I have to be aware of it. So I have to be more cognizant. We all have to be more. A woman or a man has a right to say, particularly women, say, no, this is not my space. And they shouldn't have to say no. I should be able to read better. Anyway, I think it's legitimate, and I think it is, to anyone. But I don't think anyone's ever said that I invaded their space in a way that was designed to do something other than making them feel uncomfortable, but not anything having to do with harassment or anything else.
Right.
You didn't vote for Clarence Thomas, right?
Not only didn't I vote for Clarence Thomas, I believed her from the beginning.
Yeah.
I was against Clarence Thomas. I did everything in my power to defeat Clarence Thomas, and he's won by the smallest margin anyone ever won going on the Supreme Court.
But she was not 100% happy with your discussion with her. So here's your opportunity right now to just say you apologize, you're sorry. I think we can clean this up right now.
Well, by the way, I did. I understand. Look, I'm not going to judge whether or not it was appropriate, whether she thought it was sufficient, but I said privately what I've said publicly. I am sorry she was treated the way she was treated. I wish we could have figured out a better way to get this thing done. I did everything in my power to do what I thought was within the rules to be able to stop things. As they say in my business, I'm gonna give you the whole load today.
We got the first sort of mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean and nice looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook.
You're telling me we got to go spend money to keep from going bankrupt? The answer, yes. I'm telling you.
Go to don't know my state. My state was a slave state. My state is a border state. My state is the 8th largest black population in the country. My state is anything from a northeast liberal state. Now, I'm like the token black or the token woman. I was the token young person.
All right, there it is, crazy, creepy Uncle Joe. You know, he doesn't apologize for inappropriate touching. I haven't been
crazy, creepy Uncle Joe.
I haven't been more cognizant. And I'm sorry Anita Hill was treated the way she was treated. Well, Anita Hill did not accept that apology. Newt Gingrich is in studio with us. He's got a new book out just this week. It's called Collusion, ripped right out of the headlines of today. And if you live in the New York, New Jersey area, he will be at Bookends tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Crazy, creepy Uncle Joe.
I have to tell you, this was to me a real revelation. It shouldn't have been after all these years, but it was. So I watched the Anita Hill part, and it didn't sound right. So I went back and Googled, because I remember this.
Yeah,
and I'm very fond of Clarence Thomas. And I went back. When the hearing was over, by 58 to 26, the American people believed Justice Thomas and did not believe Anita Hill. And what I realized was what the left does, and they're trying to do it with Charlottesville. They did it with communists in the government. What the left does is they take something and they decided that they were going to make Anita Hill a heroine. And so now we come to a point 30 years later where he can't even tell the truth. The truth is, he said to Arlen Specter, and Arlen Specter wrote it in his memoir, he thought Anita Hill was lying. But Biden couldn't say that, not and stay in the race.
Well, but the point is, yeah, but he has a whole history here.
Oh.
I mean,
well, I don't know if you've seen the latest things.
Which one?
These things are so good.
Which one?
And I got to tell you 3 quick things if you let me. One, they just reported that he voted to make Robert E. Lee give him back his citizenship.
Right.
Well, if you think about how the left responds, okay,
that's funny.
When that goes out across, it's going to be too good. He co-sponsored with Jesse Helms an amendment to stop busing.
Oh, this was in the 70s. We've gone back and researched all that. He was in one position, then he said, no, we don't want to have forced integration. And his comments about reparations were pretty outrageous also.
So here's the analogy I draw, and I wrote a newsletter about this. Kate Smith did 3,000 recordings. Her most famous was God Bless America, which was written for her. She spent 2 decades visiting American troops around the world. 2 of the recordings in 1931 had language that was racist, one of which was actually sung by a black artist. But it's no longer appropriate. So they took down her statue from in front of the Flyers Stadium. They have taken neither the Yankees nor the Flyers will use her voice anymore. They'll use a different version. And my point's simple. He's going to have so many Kate Smith moments in his career that by the time they get done with him, it's going to be just an embarrassment.
I think by the time I get done with him, because it's not going to be a lot of people. He will get a pass. Do you remember, I know we've talked about this a lot. It was Obama 07, 08.
Yep.
And I was driving, Frank Marshall Davis and Alinsky and Acorn and Reverend Wright and Bernadine Dorn and Ayers and, what is a community organizer? And, white folks' greed runs a world in need. I had Obama on his own, reading his own book saying that. And all I was pointing out is his background showed a rigid, radical ideologue. What do you call it? Black liberation theology. He stayed in the pews of Reverend Wright 20 years. What did he hear in those pews? And we went over all of it. And for some reason, I think you thought it was too much. I was going overboard.
I have said over and over since then, you are the only person who actually understood the core radicalism of Obama. I mean, of all the people I dealt with that year, you were the only person. And you did it no matter everybody else ignored you, and you didn't care. You kept coming back and coming back and coming back.
What have I been doing for 2 years on this whole fake, phony Russia collusion story? Right. Is there anyone else in the media, except obviously Talk Radio, Rush, Mark, Laura, Tucker, and Fox and Friends? Who else is there?
Well,
Lou Dobbs.
And that's why I think you have these 2 alternative realities. But the problem for Biden is the things that he did wrong are the things that drive the left crazy. I mean, if he did things wrong that drove you and me crazy, he could still be the nominee.
He said Obama will. Wow, this is storybook, man. He's clean and articulate and
got the first sort of mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean and nice looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook.
Articulate, bright, and clean is African American. That's a storybook, man. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
But the thing you have to remember about Biden is he has a very pleasant personality, but not particularly deep in the brain behind it. And so, yeah.
You're saying does it matter, will it matter, the record of Obama-Biden for 8 years?
Oh, I think it's going to matter in part because of the Mueller report.
I think that'll matter. It should matter.
I mean, the first question that needs to be asked of Joe Biden is, did you know any of this? And if you didn't know, what does that say about your role in the administration?
By the time we get to the bottom of all this, it's right at the top.
Yeah.
And there's no stopping what's coming. And people say to me, why can't we have it now? Because that's not the way the process works.
But it's going to keep the other night when you did the interview with the president, which I thought was pretty amazing, frankly.
I think he loves doing it on the phone. I think he's sitting, his feet are up, and he's having a good time.
I know. No, I think he is an unusual character. He's an effective president, but he is an unusual character.
Oh, my staff asked, well, how long is he going to be on? And I said, well, he could go the rest of the show, or he could go 5 or 10 minutes. It's up to him.
That's right. That's exactly right.
I have no idea.
But he said something which drove the left crazy when he talked about this was an attempted coup.
It was.
Well, that's exactly what it was. I mean, we need to be honest about this. You had people in the United States so offended by the notion that Donald Trump could beat Hillary Clinton that there were bureaucrats in the U.S. government, including, I think, up to the president, methodically doing things designed to undermine the next president of the United States. Now, that is a coup by any reasonable standard.
How does this play out for the election? And if you had to pick the top front runners, Biden probably has to be one. Do you look at Robert Francis, Beto? Do you look at Elizabeth Warren? Do you look at Bernie? Who do you like? Who do you think emerges?
I don't.
I mean, look, to answer that question, you have to say, well, where are the Democrats? How crazy are they going to be?
Well, I mean, I thought originally Kamala Harris had the best shot.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. I think that's right. But she kind of fit where they are. I think this. You're going to think I'm crazy, and I may be. But I think Buttigieg, if I've said that right. Buttigieg.
No. Buttigieg.
Buttigieg.
Yeah.
I got to learn how to say this. Yeah. I think Buttigieg may have as good an opportunity as anybody.
Really?
From this standpoint. The two frontrunners are older people at a time when the Democratic Party's energy is younger. One of the two frontrunners is sort of vaguely a moderate at a time when the Democratic Party is moving hard to the left. The other one is nuts. I mean, I don't know if you saw it. My theory of this whole thing is that they're going to become the 15% party. And if you look at it, the idea that you should allow violent criminals to vote while they're in prison,
including the Tsarnaev brothers,
is a 15% issue. Okay? And you go to killing babies after they're born. That's a 15% issue.
That's a 2% issue.
No, it's about 15.
Is it really?
Yes,
that's
it is.
Scary. All right.
It is scary. Then you get to
the new Green Deal.
The new Green Deal, when you understand it, is like a 15% issue. Taking away your right to buy insurance is a 15% issue. I mean, you go down this whole list of things, and you suddenly begin to realize these people are running as fast as they can into a blind canyon where they could.
So does Biden try and separate himself from that group, or?
No. I mean, if you watched him on The View Friday, what he did is he tried to appease everybody.
Everybody.
I mean, Biden's natural instinct is to appease everybody and to be sort of a hug. In fact, one of the things he gets attacked for is he's kind of a huggy bear. But psychologically, he is a huggy bear.
Is there who objectively in your mind, politics? This has been your sport and study for all these years, and you're a historian. Who has the best shot at
beating Trump? Mm-hmm. Buttigieg.
Really?
Yeah. Think about it.
Mayor Pete.
He doesn't exist. He is exactly like Jimmy Carter. Mm-hmm. Carter's great strength in 1976 was everybody could project onto him whatever they want.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, and you think that he's going to emerge from the pack?
I think he could. Now, of course, they're then going to ask questions like, how come your city has not been prosperous? And how come you have all the problems with African Americans in your city? I mean, this is a business where the higher you get, the hotter it gets.
Yeah, I think I've noticed in your life and career. And Buttigieg, by the way, he's coming to New York to meet with Al Sharpton. Apparently, they have a specific topic, according to ABC News, to discuss homophobia. Now, we have now everyone's kissing Sharpton's ring.
But he's got to discuss reparations. How can he go see Sharpton and not make a pledge on reparations?
Well, let's play the highlights of Sharpton so we know exact. I only have 2 minutes. Let me play. These are the highlights of Sharpton. Okay?
All right.
I'm tired of the magazine. You ain't nothing. You're a punk. Now come on, do something. Yes. You want to be the only nigga on television. The only nigga in the newspaper. The only nigga can talk. Don't cover them. Don't talk to them. Because you got the only nigga problem.
That's the guy they all want to support him?
This is the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Welcome to the modern Democratic Party.
Quick break. More with Newt on the other side. All right, our final moments. Newt Gingrich is with us. If you're in the New York, New Jersey area, he'll be at Bookends tomorrow night. His book is called Collusion. He'll also be joining us tonight. All right, this is going to be fascinating to watch. So everyone wants to kiss up to Al Sharpton. We played the montage in the last break. All right? Does that fly? I mean, that's okay because
Sharpton in the end is going to mean reparations. Reparations in the end is insanity. It's not possible.
Do you see any of these Green New Deal proposals being taken by the American people in this sense? Socialism, we're going to take care of everything. You don't have a worry, a fear in the world. We're going to take care of your health care, your school, your education, your retirement. This
is going to be a race between a total fantasy that is obviously unsustainable and the hard work of creating a prosperous country. And you're going to have Trump representing hard work, and you're going to have whoever ends up as the Democratic nominee representing just a total fantasy. And it reminds me of two great presidential re-elections. Nixon over McGovern, Reagan over Mondale.
Yeah. It's going to be great. Mr. Speaker, congrats on the book. Hannity.com, Amazon.com, bookstores everywhere.